Is what is the difference between redistricting and reapportionment, which you don't have to tell me now, but and then and the current fight to reduce gerrymandering, and then the Common Council's rush to secure status quo instead of making improvements, and the current status, and including telling people to tell their congresspeople. I mean, tell their councilmen. Yeah.
Okay. Facebook is now ready if you're ready.
Okay.
And you got the clock reset?
Oh, I know we're ready. Yes, the clock is
reset.
Okay,
hit this.
I'm adding myself with a different device because my phone is dying. So could you please
admit him.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks. Okay.
There we go.
Perfect. Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Leighton. That'll be good.
Okay. So, Vicki, throw the silver switch that you're on the air.
We are on the air.
I see.
Yeah.
Put the clapper in front of your face. When you hit the clapper, you're on the air.
Thanks. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded here at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future. Thanks to our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And thank you to our friends at Buff State, WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station coming out of Buff State. So thank you to WBNY. And thanks also, I think when I think of thanking, I think of our indigenous friends. I think of the fact that we're on stolen Haudenosaunee land, most of us here on stolen Seneca land. And I think about, in spite of all the violence and the duplicity that has forced indigenous people, that practically was, attempted genocide, and that forced indigenous people on smaller and smaller pieces of land and so much oppression, they still are full of thankfulness and start all of their events off by remembering the people here who made it all happen, remembering Mother Earth and all she gives us for our existence, and all of the plants, the animals, the creatures of all kinds, and all of the different elements that we have that make life so wonderful on this creation, this beautiful world that we have. And then, of course, to remember the Creator and the original instructions that we should be following so that life can continue in this creation. And then they will say, and now our minds are one, and they would say, Yahweh, and then the people, which says, now our minds are one, basically, and that thankfulness. And then the people say, no. So if you would say, no.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, and thank you for coming on. Thank you for all your wonderful work on this important topic. Our topic now is reapportionment or redistricting, Buffalo redistricting, and a historic struggle to end or at least reduce gerrymandering. So I want to say we have three of the people who are making this all happen. I didn't say I'm Vicki Ross, with the Western Board Chair, actually, at the Western New York Peace Center. And we are so thrilled to have a team it's Our City Action Buffalo that has really driving this movement to stop the gerrymandering or reduce the gerrymandering. So I just want to go, I'll go, and as the Haudenosaunee do, counterclockwise. So we'll start with Denise Barr, who is here. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. You have to excuse me that I'm looking around. I've got a puppy underneath my feet who's biting my leg because he wants to go outside.
Oh, poor Dexter.
It's going to be good.
Well,
it's
Dexter,
fine.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
He'll be okay.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for coming and bringing Dexter. Thank you for all you do for the Fruit Belt, and all the leadership you show in the Fruit Belt and for the whole city, really. And speaking of leadership, we have Harper Bishop. Thank you so much, Harper, for all your wonderful work. You've really been at the helm of all of this and making so much happen.
Yes.
And I just want to mention that you have Saint there with you. So welcome, Saint, too.
Yeah, no. Thank you so much for having us. Of course, it takes all of us in the struggle, and so many people playing such vital roles and stand on the shoulders of, of giants and of ancestors who have come before me. So grateful to be with all of you tonight.
Well, thank you so much. And I know, cutting in right into your family time, so we're so happy that you have Saint right there with you while we're going to talk about this exciting topic. And last but not least, Leighton. I'm having brain freeze. Wait,
Yeah,
Jones. Leighton Jones. I don't trust my own brain, I can tell you. That's happening more and more. Anyway, Leighton Jones. Leighton has been at the forefront, and I can say for really getting us all riled up just when we need to be, because we need real energy to work against the status quo. And Leighton, you exemplify that so beautifully. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. This is an important topic. It's one that everyone in the city of Buffalo should know about and should be a part of. So we're grateful that you're here to amplify our message and work with us.
And thanks to all of you and some other wonderful people working on this, this has been really getting some traction. And even though as Jeff Kelly put it in his article in The Nation, it's such a wonky subject that nobody really wants to talk about it. People just ignore it. And that's the way it's been in Buffalo. I know nobody paid any attention 10 years ago, or at least I didn't. I know I wasn't hearing about it. But this year, people are here. People are getting involved and interested. So before we get into the depths of it, I want to start with values. We like to start off with what are the values we want to uphold in this topic. So if we could just go around and, like, when you think of this, what do you think? What are the values you want us to think of? So Denise.
Oh, that feels like a trick question, because the values that I want upheld are not the values that are being upheld in Common Council.
Okay. So what are the values you want to uphold?
I want them to respect the voice of the residents, the people that they're supposed to be serving. I want the transparency that we're supposed to be getting. I don't want for them to continue to act like, they're not hearing us. When we come out, as many people as we've had coming out, in that kind of force, and they still sit back and they still refuse to even engage us in the process. And then, they wonder, why people don't come out for other things. Well, if you don't want to hear me when I'm talking to you about the most important thing that's the hot topic right now, why should I want to come out and talk to you about anything else? I'm venting. I'm sorry, because I really am angry about this.
Of course. So thank you. And those are so critical. So what was the first one? Listening and
yes,
and being responsive to the public and transparency. So thank you for those. Those are so key, really, for any function in government. And Harper?
Yeah, for me, it is racial justice is absolutely where it comes from me. We unfortunately are going to be marking the 2-month anniversary of the shooting at Tops tomorrow. And when we came out and we saw that the commission on 5/18, 4 days after the white supremacist mass shooting, had still continued on with their work and had not included people, and we were still battling the budget at that point. So we already had that fight on our hands, and we were all grieving, hurting, and trying to wrap our heads around what was occurring, on Jefferson, in a community that I spent a while with this bar in the Fruit Belt, and then working at Open Buffalo right across the street. So a place that I run regularly. And when they released those maps, and they were the same gerrymandered maps, of which we know what happens, unfortunately, when we don't take seriously systemic racism, that to us was an anger boiling point of we must do more. And at that time, we were promised by our elected officials that we would. and that we were finally going to be Buffalo honest and not Buffalo strong or any other of these, made up sort of things. We were going to address the issue. And then we brought it to them and we said, we the people do not want the status quo. We actually do want to end white supremacy, and this is how we can start to do it in a really functional way and in a tactile, immediate way. And to have the Common Council not respect that, and as Ms. Barr said, to not listen to the people when they were saying this is what is most important to us. It's not anything else. It is this issue. To not have that taken seriously feels like a slap in the face to so many people who have been working on racial, economic, and social justice issues for many, many years, and far beyond my years. And so that is our leading value. And then the preservation of our communities. What is more important than keeping our communities together, keeping them whole, and keeping them right? Voter power should be something that people are fighting for in the enfranchisement of voters, not the disenfranchisement, especially of marginalized humans in our city. And so the fact that we have 9 men who are leading with their self-interest instead of the values and the interests of 280,000 plus individuals. Our maps are still the only maps that include incarcerated individuals. So when they come back home, they will have equal representation. And we know that's disproportionately happening on the east side. So we feel like our values are straight, and some people have to take a good hard look in the mirror and talk about what their values are, and they don't have their values straight. And that's what this is all about. It is a fight of values, and we know we're on the right side of history.
Right. So well put. So very well put. So all of those are very critical values, and that, racial justice is huge. And I'm so glad you started with that one. And so, as you said, there's the responsiveness and transparency came up too, and that, it's just very critical. And the enfranchising people, not disenfranchising, and attending to the marginalized people. So absolutely, and certainly the East Side has been just, brutalized in every kind of a way. So thank you for all of that. And Leighton, what would you say for some values that you want to uphold?
Some values I can think of. I have a couple words I wrote down because I don't want to forget them. So 3 I can say is integrity, trust, and loyalty.
Wow.
And that is 3 of the things that the Common Council does not have right now. They have no integrity in the people, none for their jobs that they swore that they would uphold in this community. This is what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to listen to your constituents and do the job, right? And having one person at one of the public hearings, you think that is the majority? You think that is a public opinion? One person was simply despicable to me when they said that yesterday. Another thing that I wanted to say is resiliency. I want everyone in our community to keep resilient and stay resilient. Right. This is not a fight that we are giving up on. This is something that we can actually win. It's your voice. You are the reason Buffalo is a city, right? The people make the city, and the people are supposed to make the city what it is and what it should look like. Not 9 council members, as Harper said, that in a city that has over 280,000 people. And diversity is another word I want to keep in mind. We have people here from all different countries, people who speak different languages, people who can't understand the way people speak in general, right? Awesome. So we need to have a space for them because they are just as a part of our community as everyone else is. They pay rent, they pay taxes, and they should be involved and included in these decisions that are happening. And the last word that comes to mind is intelligence. I just need the Common Council to not act like the public is stupid. We see right through you. We see exactly what you are doing. So it's better for you to say that you want to stick with the gerrymandered maps that you have proposed, but don't act like you cannot change it when you just changed it last week. Right. The end. Sorry.
No, you're so right. You're so right about everything that you said, and including the fact that they can still change it. They absolutely can change it. They can change it in all kinds of ways. They could continue to make it worse, or they could make it a lot better. So that is, something that we'll just see what happens. I'm going to say for values, I'm sort of torn between, I'm so glad you mentioned integrity, so I won't have to mention that one because it is huge. So, and Cornel West, I'm always quoting Cornel West when he says, if we had moral integrity and universal solidarity, we would get where we need to go. And the other, Dr. King, talks about unarmed truth and unconditional love. And I want to say truth and love are the ones I'm going to mention because the truth, the actual facts about the different maps and the different proposals, those are facts and that can be analyzed accurately, impartially. They're just easily quantified. Some of these things are easily quantified. That's the truth of it. So it can be seen which things are better, which is a better map. And then as far as love, I mean that love for the beloved community, for caring for the people, and for caring for doing the right thing. Truth and love is what motivates people to do the right thing. You tell the truth, not to hurt, but just because it's the truth. And then that love of the people and love of the principles and the spirit that we need for all of us is where we're going to get where we're going to go, and we're on the road. I can see that. So let us start with what is redistricting. You can even give a little subtext on what is reapportionment, what's the difference there, and what's going on. So I like to maybe I turn it over, Harper, if you want to just. Because I said to you in the beginning I was going to ask you that. If you could just lay that out for people.
Yeah, no problem. So redistricting and reapportionment are actually two different things, and they answer two different questions. So reapportionment is, so first of all, why redistricting happens is because the decennial census data, which means every 10 years when the census occurs, we have to go about a process to redistrict and to set our population equalization back to what it needs to be. So the 2020 census just happened. People are paying attention in New York State. They know that those maps were struck down. And so actually it contextualizes it a lot for people what we're talking about because they just saw it happen and then elections had to change, etc. So there's legalities in which population equalization and making one person, one vote is really important so that everyone is actually counted and everyone is equal is really important. There's also compactness and contiguity, and then preservation of communities of interest. And of course, we've made one of our values racial equity as well. So we think these are the most important things. Legally, the first four are what make redistricting important. When those lines are drawn, of course, it's one person, one vote. That is the importance of it. And then reapportionment is your representation. So because Buffalo has gained population for the first time in 70 years, we now need to redraw our lines to include and could include more council members. Buffalo has a legacy of having at-large members. Those are members that represent the whole of the city of Buffalo. Also, the council president used to be a citywide a seat or representative. That's no longer the case. Darius Pridgeon has been the council president since I worked in City Hall, which has been some time. He was elected while I was there, and basically he gets voted on by the rest of the body, 8 other council members that elect him.
Right.
So technically, and again, why we're saying, and we made the recommendation that we should at least have one at-large member, as well as the council president going back to a citywide seat, because he's supposed to take care of all of the residents of Buffalo, and yet mostly he just responds to Ellicott District, and which Ms. Barr is a part of. So when I try to talk to Darius Pridgeon, I have never had him return a formal call to me in my entire presidency. He really doesn't respond, honestly, to people outside of the Ellicott District, which is problematic when you're the council president who's supposed to represent everybody. And again, I know this person fairly well, and I speak to him, but in terms of a formal request, it's hard to get his attention with all the things he's going on and where his focus is.
Right.
So he's holding dual duty. So again, reapportionment speaks to representatives and who is representing us. With 70 years or population after 70 years of growth, we think it's time to expand representation, especially in a deeply entrenched political system, as we're seeing here in the process.
Yes.
And then redistricting are the lines that are drawn to make sure that everyone has an equal voice.
Well, that is very well explained. And I want to say, you know, when you mentioned about entrenched power, I want to say, if I never ask people about this, like what is our anti-value? Like the one thing, you know, what do we find is the boogeyman or something? And I'm going to say entrenched power is definitely up there. I mean, and hugely for Buffalo. And I don't think that needs any further explanation. And it's really a statement about racial equity, for one thing. So the racial inequity is entrenched. All of these things are so entrenched. That's why change is so needed, because the problems, you know, are deep and persistent and long-standing problems. So anyway, so if we would talk about what the situation is now and something about the maps, I want to bring out the one thing that I got quoted on saying that the map is a racist map. And I want to say, I think I misspoke. So I apologize for that. It is a white supremacist map, because the map that they have proposed, and then the second one that they did, is even worse. What it does is,
agreed,
it takes a minority white city and then gives the majority of districts a white majority. So that, first of all, that's like a magic trick. How do you do that? And how you do it is gerrymandering. And that is why we're being reported on in national news as having a historic fight against gerrymandering. So, Denise, if we can just do a go round on that, and any other points you want to illuminate about something about the process or where we are now and how we've gotten here.
You know, I think that we have to really look at the fact that this has been so entrenched in our city. Mm-hmm. This white supremacy, you know, that has created all of these areas where they're suppressing. You know, it's not just poor people of color, because everything that affects poor people of color is going to affect poor white people. Right. But, you know, it's okay because they're collateral damage, right? We're not going to worry about them because it's their fault that they're poor. Right. But, you know, the thing is, we have to really be vocal about these systemic things that are in place and how they are doubling down, because that is what they are doing right now. They are doubling down to ensure that those things stay in place for as long as possible, and that they become even more deep-rooted than they are. And we cannot continue to stand by and let this happen. Right. We have to continue to call out our government, to call out our elected officials, and continue to highlight that fact. And until they get it right, we're going to have to keep at this fight. That's just the way it is. Because if we don't, the reality is that my community, poor communities, are going to continue to be, you know, trampled. They're going to continue to be abused at the hands of those who have that power and won't release it. So I'm going to let that stay there. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Harper?
I'm going to let Leighton go first, and then I'll double back.
Sure. Leighton.
So one comment that someone said to me, well, let me first say that this is a city that has been historically racist, right? This is a city that has been rooted in racism because it is one of the most, and still is one of the most segregated cities in the United States to date, right? So if we have our council members as people who we elected to make this system better, and they are choosing to keep the system how it is, keep these maps how they are, as they were 10 years ago to show that we haven't grown. We haven't become way more diverse. We haven't evolved in any way, shape, or form. Nothing has happened since the 10 years. I am so very confused.
Right.
The comment that I wanted to point out was that someone said, it's not like they lose any power or their position or anything if they just agree or try to make a collaborative effort to fix these maps and make them more equitably powerful, resourceful in some way for our community. Like, and my response to that was, it would be a major win for our city, which includes them. They would be winning. They would benefit from this as well. This has, no one has said anything negative about our maps. And even if they have, the disadvantages that the maps that the Common Council has proposed versus the disadvantages of ours are way less. We have proven that statistically. We have proven that through showing the demographics that we've proposed. And we have proven that through how compact our neighborhoods and how much we've preserved our city. Like, this is not a it's sad that we have given them a solution to a problem that they created, and they have tried to silence our voice in every way that they could have. They've kept the public hearings at times where they know working class families cannot arrive, just to break things down in real life. Poor people cannot attend these meetings that the Common Council hold. But yet still they keep these public hearings as if they are the public opinion. How are you inviting the public and making this accessible to anyone if you're not keeping it at a time or sharing the information for them to even know when it's at a convenient time for them to plan around it? Like, it's just sickening that we elected these people to represent us in a way that we thought would be beneficial to our city, and that is not the case.
Right. You're so right. And although you're reminding, I did want to mention one thing is, the racist or white supremacist maps did not originate with them. To be fair, I want to say that. So it's about perpetuating long-standing racist, and I want to say classist. Deidre would definitely be talking, our executive director would be saying classist, because like Denise said, it's not just about race, it's also class. So, poor people, it's just, get this chat.
Actually,
go ahead.
I'll actually even add to that, it's also homophobia, because our maps look the way that they do, unfortunately, because some of the gerrymandering that happened in Fillmore and Ellicott is a direct result of people not wanting to represent Allentown or wanting to represent Allentown. And that is actually homophobic. So people don't actually lift that up a lot of times, but that is absolutely what you're seeing when you see Ellicott and Fillmore and how they look and who wanted to represent them and who they thought would and wouldn't vote for them, based on who they are, what their positions are, both politically and in the public realm. So I also want to add to that, because that does not get spoken about nearly enough.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
And
for that part.
Yeah, no problem. So even tonight, when people were asked, someone said to me, well, what do you expect? Like, do you think they're really going to give up their power and adopt your map? And I said, I believe in democracy. And I believe that if I were in elected office and I had to run for office and people changed the maps, I would have to earn the right to run. Then I would run. And if the people did not elect me, then I'm not elected, right? To rig essentially an election, because when you make maps that are custom made for you and you gerrymander so that is in your favor, you're essentially rigging an election, in my viewpoint. And that means that people that are insurgent candidates, and a new day is dawning in Buffalo, and there are people just like us in droves. We saw 100 of them, over 100 of them, shut down council chambers yesterday. They're over old school Buffalo. They're over the racism, classism, and queerphobia. They're moving on, and this council is going to have to learn, and the city is going to have to learn that people are over them. Why they use the excuse, it took them weeks to come up with an excuse as to why our maps wouldn't work. And their only talking point was essentially that we gerrymandered the maps to make a district for India Walton, which is horribly ridiculous of a talking point when she's under contract right now to buy a home in Maston. And like if the Buffalo had even asked me that question and called me back, I would have said, my friend right now is across town buying a house in Maston district and is told Ulysses Wingo, I am running against you, to his face, right? So the only thing that they can fathom is there's one troublemaker in the entire city, and this is why it all happens. Instead of, no, this person is emblematic of a new politic and a new dawn and a new day in Buffalo, and that's where we're following, because we are no longer interested in accountability campaigns. We want co-governance, and we know that we can go govern with people who want to be in relationship with us. I can call India any hour of the day, and she will take my phone call about any topic, any subject, and listens to me. And if she and adds to my analysis on something, doesn't tell me, come back another time, or, absolutely not, or I'm not taking your call and I'm blocking you and bye, right? So I think I wanted to add to that conversation around what is transpiring here. And that the talking point, to just boil it down to gerrymandering of a district to try to, distract people from the reality of what's happening, and the expectations that we have for our council members is something that really needs to be spoken about.
Well,
I also have to jump in. I'm sorry, but I gotta say, because this is not just about the maps, right?
No,
Again, they don't want to have conversation with us about the city budget. They don't want to have conversation with us about the police budget. Anything that creates a pocket where there's supposed to be community engagement, they don't want to hear from us. They don't want to talk to us. We consistently run into this pattern. It's been going on for the longest time of, it's the mayor's fault. It's the comptroller's fault. It's somebody's fault that there's no time to engage the public. And the reality is that they just don't want to hear from us. They don't want to take our suggestions. They don't want to get our feedback. They just want to do what they want to do. So I think it's important to add that, because we're not just talking about the maps. This is a pattern that has been going on in Common Council, in City Hall for a long time.
I totally appreciate that point, and I did want to bring it up because people that have been paying attention, Vicki, we know this. We've been at City Hall. We've been following it. Barr is completely right that's exactly it. And I've been calling it a proxy fight. So although it is about redistricting, it's about everything else as well. The people are over. So it's become a proxy fight for every one of our frustrations of, you don't listen to us, you don't listen to us. And finally, after something so tragic happened, we said we were going to be different, and you're acting no differently. So we are going to act differently. We are going to take our power back, and we're going to expose everything that is taking place and lay it bare. And then the people can determine what is right. And the people have determined what's right in this campaign. Why you're seeing an entire city talking about redistricting is not because of redistricting. It's because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And also because this is an example where it's actually easily demonstrated what is you have actual numerical analyses that will demonstrate what is a preferable plan. And so to not accept it when it has been demonstrated. So I've been quoting this, Dr. King again, of it's always the right time to do the right thing. And this is what I've been saying to the council people. So it makes me think of actually what was my thing when I was a teenager was say yes to everybody, then go do whatever you want. But, that's what they do. They just say, we'll have public input, and then you get the public input, and then you just go do what you were going to do anyway. And say, well, I had other input, and, not everybody agrees with you, and, whatever it is. But this is a case where it's demonstrably provable, the preference. And so it would be very easy to say, okay, we'll go with that, or we'll modify ours in these and those ways to improve it. Right? I want to
at least look at it. Let's at least have a conversation about it.
I want to shout out too to Monica Stevens and other Rusty Weaver too. So some of the people who've done, and I should think, Harper, you're part of that too. I know I'm not a part of it. Who've done all the numerical analysis, and I mean it is mind blowing the amount of ways that and clear measurements and tools that she's used to show, the problems with the map they're proposing, the ways that the map that our city Buffalo, the 40th map or something that our city Action Buffalo put together.
42nd, yeah.
Yeah, 42nd is.
That's not hyperbolic. It was
No, I know.
42 maps before
Yes.
we got the combination. Yeah.
So that shows such a huge amount of work and dedication, and it is provably better. I mean, it's objectively better. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is when a smart person, back to your value of intelligence, will say, and or a person with integrity will say, that's what we need to go with. Clearly, that is what we need to go with. But
to be completely disregarded on multiple occasions when we've had everyone in our city contacted them. Their phones have been blown up. They've asked us to have people tell people to stop calling them, right?
Really?
They've asked us that. Yes. So the fact that you guys were able to ask us that and still not be able to accept or request of a meeting with each and the 9 council members, I didn't think it would be that hard to serve your community as your job is designed to. I didn't think it was that hard to have a meeting and discuss exactly what you're talking about. Tell us to our face. Let us understand what you're saying and why you decided that this was a great opportunity for you to gerrymander our city once again and leave it exactly like how it was 10 years ago. Let me get a reason and explain to us as your constituents.
Yeah, I will note, and I think that's right, Leighton, that we had 3 council members who at least would speak to us directly. They took constituent meetings this week. It was Majority Leader Councilman David Rivera, It was Council Member Joel Ferraletto, and Council Member Joe Gallenbeck. Those 3 did have meetings with their constituents and said yes. So 3 out of the 9 clearly knew that they accepted the challenge to speak. So I did want to make sure that on the record that happened.
Thank you.
What I also want to say, though, on the record is that there were 2 items that we filed with the clerk's office, our original plan and then our revised plan. Those were filed with the clerk's office and we made it public so that people could see in transparency what we were doing and that we did it. We had a number of city residents file an amended plan. I think there were about 10 people at the clerk's office when that happened. Each of their names went on to it. So when the item was filed, it says H. Bishop et al. So there was 10 people who also signed on to that. Yesterday, we left obviously Chambers angered after they tabled it and talked a bunch of legalese and made it as difficult for people to understand as possible on purpose. We left, but I looked at the journal today and both of those items are called received and filed, which means essentially they saw it and they're doing away with it. Whereas if they cared, and we keep on seeing in the Buffalo News and everywhere else that the reason our benevolent dictators of common council members have prolonged it is not because of illegality, but because they're giving us a chance to speak. Well, that's funny because they received and filed an item in which we were trying to speak on the very item that they're saying that we can no longer speak on. So what would have happened if they believed, again, in democracy, is that they would have taken those 2 items and they would have taken them to the ledge meeting, and we, as people who filed those items, would have been able to speak on it and open a public hearing again on the item. They clearly do not want to hear from us. It is super obvious. And instead of opening that public hearing, they're instead taking that opportunity in that committee meeting to vote on the item. So I want the Buffalo News, who the editorial board even, said that we were on the right side of history here, and Buffalo media to stop printing lies told to you by the Buffalo Common Council and talk to the people who know and have meticulously followed. And I want to say again, because I worked at the Common Council, I've dotted the I's, I've crossed the T's, I've done everything that I'm supposed to do, right? In terms of send it to this person, do this, hoop that average Buffalonians don't know to do because they keep these as secret as possible so that you can't know the system to use, but I know the system to use. We know the system to use, and we still cannot get the basic, even the very basic, pretend, that they're listening to us. So I want to say that, like, it's not just people screaming, it's people, we have an inside-outside strategy that's been moving along, and the inside strategy has been completely rejected by the Common Council.
Right. Right. So there's been a mix of strategies, of course. But let me ask this too. Well, first of all, I want to say I was one of the people who met with Joel Ferraletto this morning, and I want to really thank him again. I'm wondering if we should have talked more about taking it to the legislative committee. More than we talked about. We didn't talk about that too much. One thing I do want to bring up is I mentioned Cornel West and what he said about moral integrity and universal solidarity. So part of that is, so solidarity is a great value, but universal solidarity. So not just, so it shouldn't be solidarity with your colleagues. The solidarity with the colleagues, I mean, there's a place for it. I'm not saying that's an evil thing or something like that. That you're thoughtful of them and, or liking to do your job or something. But but back to, it's always the right time to do the right thing. So I just wanted to bring that out about, that's where part of the problem comes, and also change because of the status quo. If people who are happy with the way things are, then fear of the unknown means that we don't want to change the status quo, except that there's so much injustice in the status quo, we have to change the status quo. So, thoughts? I'm just glad that we have Saint over there. So when Saint will get his turn when he's a lot older, we'll put him in charge. But anyway, in the meanwhile, some thoughts about what sort of about where we are and also what people should be doing. I think we can come around the bend on that part too.
Yeah, so meanwhile, back at the ranch, let me say this.
Yeah.
The residents in my neighborhood, who are mostly seniors, most of these people, they're elderly, and a few of them had come out to be there for the Common Council session. Many of them had called. Many of them, I had been on the phone with them, telling them, make sure you get your comments on the record. Make sure you tell them you want your comments on the record. But the thing is, we're trying to keep hope in our inner city community, to keep our youth, to keep our younger people inspired that things can change, that there is hope for them to be able to see that there will be change in the face of all of this, right? Even in seeing it, in something as simple as Common Council, where the people come and they speak their demands and they come and they ask for representation because they want to be heard. And the Common Council says, nah, we don't need to talk to you because we know better than you are. Trying to keep that hope alive with our youth, with our young people, is really, really tough. I can tell you, as I've said with many people, trying to say to my kids, you need to vote. We need you to vote, because if you vote, there'll be a change. And then they look on and they're like, I don't think there's any change. But I think that we really have to, just like they're doubling down, we have to double down, and we have to be very clear and concise in saying that is the reason why we need for you to vote. That is the reason why we have to keep pushing harder, because if we don't change that, we're never going to change anything. So I'm taking up airtime, but I'm sorry.
No, you're so right. You're so right.
Leighton can give you action steps because he's been all over this. Leighton.
Yeah, what should people do if they? Well, first I want to say your landing page, your website.
Yes, our website is www.orcityactionbuffalo.com/redistricting. or
Yep,
forward slash redistricting.
yep,
Yes.
forward slash, yep.
Well, now
That-
I think the way they have it, that's your first landing page. So if they
Yeah.
just put in
Yep.
ourcitybuffalo.com, it will go
Yep.
right to that page.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
And then I also would love for everyone to follow our Instagram. It is Or City Action Buffalo, or Twitter is Or City Action B2, or Facebook is Or City Action Buffalo. We would love if you would donate to keep this vibe going. We need your support, and we very much appreciate you wearing our merch anytime you see us. We want you to wear our merch, so please, if you want to contact us, I am always available. Hit us up on any of our social media sites. We are planning on having a meet and greet type of collaborative meeting for the community, where people can just come talk to us, ask us any questions that they need, and ask us of ways they could get involved and they could get more involved with OCAB itself. And we will be posting a lot more content on what Or City Action Buffalo is, what we will be doing in the future, and more ways of how everyone can get involved. So please, if you want to be involved, contact us.
Yes.
Yep, and I'm just gonna say that this all is going to come kind of to a crescendo. Did not happen yesterday at 2 p.m. It absolutely will happen. I unless something completely drastic happens. We expect 2 p.m. is the legislation committee meeting. This coming Tuesday, so 6 days from now, will be when they will be voting on this. We expect them to, and then we are moving to a legal strategy. So we've been really, this isn't a hidden secret. We've been in the media saying this, that if the council members continue to pursue this gerrymandered map, which we find is illegal and reprehensible, just like immoral completely, and has gotten, just further away from the direction we need to go, which really is in our favor, honestly. So we, the members continue to put forward this map and vote it forward on Tuesday, but we want to be accountable watchdogs. We want to be in chambers as they do it so that they know how we feel about it, which is that we're moving directly to action in the courts, and then we're moving to mobilize our people and educate them on the issues, and we'll see them in 2023. And people have taken to saying every damn seat. I don't know that we're going to get every damn seat, but we're going to try as hard as we can to get as many seats as possible out of the hands of these irresponsible, unresponsive council members into the hands of the people.
And this is when I need to say, of course, the Western New York Peace Center is a 501c3, so we do not worry about how people are voting for or anything like that. But
just to be so people are aware, our City Action Buffalo is a C4 entity that can endorse candidates and will endorse.
You can and you will and you should, and we are glad that so many groups are doing that, and that some people are attending to partisan politics. But the beauty of this issue, to me and to the Western New York Peace Center, this is a totally nonpartisan issue.
Exactly.
It is a democracy issue.
That's right.
It is an enfranchisement issue. Now, other issues that are related to it, and we can always talk about those issues. And we can also have candidate forums. That's another thing we can do, and we will do, and we are happy to do, at different times. But the main thing... You're absolutely right that why we've garnered such broad, support is because this is a nonpartisan issue. And so we have organizations that are C3s that have signed on and who have been following us right along. And that is the power of this issue, is that it is completely nonpartisan. We're saying, let's do the right thing for all of us. It has nothing to do with a candidate or a particular council member. It has to do with the city. And this is the beauty of the impartiality of it. That's what I'm saying. The numbers driven, the data driven nature of it. This is why Monica Stevens and Rusty Weaver, who have, just laid it out so beautifully. So for anybody who's wondering and they're still not sure, they think, well, it's he said, she said, or they said, or something like that. Go to the website, see it yourself. Look at I hope Monica put it on with their map too, where you can see exactly how it isn't. First of all, on the map, you can see it yourself, the shapes, if they're all wonky kinds of weird shapes. You know, the ideal shape, the most compact shape is a circle, right? And so you can't have a bunch of circles. So we know we can't have a perfect 1.0 doesn't exist for a voting district. But like being, a 4 or a 5 instead of a 1 or a 2, so those are measurable things. That's not a matter of opinion. That's a factual, actual thing. So I think the work that you all have done, and also of educating the people, because this is also back to the wonkiness. People are like, why did it never get talked about? It's just too in the weeds. And then especially if our participation is not wanted, just let us handle it. Right. Don't come, don't tell us, you don't need to know. We're taking care of it. No.
I want to say, I think I want to just shout out, cultural organizing is so important for this reason, and Ariel Aberg-Rigger for incredible work that has simplified this and made it so easy for people to understand why it matters. This is why cultural organizing is so important. So what I love about this campaign too is that we've got the power of the people. We've got cultural organizers who are telling and educating our people, not in legalese, but in simple slides that tell you why this matters. We've got a legal strategy and lawyers of brilliance. We've got the numbers
Adam
people,
Bojack.
analytics, urban planners, people who are looking at this from every expertise. And that's the whole thing. In the movement, there is room for all of us. Right. And we're seeing it play out right here, right now. And in our city, we believe that everyone has all these talents. And how creative, imaginative could we be if we weren't just spending every waking moment having to fight people, but like literally had people working with us and using their talents in the best and boldest and brightest ways. It would just be so brilliant, because I've seen this brilliance play out in this campaign, and you have to think there is a better way. We know there's a better way, and we're doing it.
There is, and we're going to get there. So that you're so inspiring when you're laying it out just like that, and you're right. Yes, Ariel too, and so many great people, and all of you doing such a fantastic job, each one of you. So if we could just go around for just a final word or thought, or what you want to leave people with. So we'll go right round the circle like that, or unless you want to go in a different order. I mean, this is our
Sure, I'll go first.
rounding up. Go ahead. Sure, yes.
So what I want people to be left with is that our City Action Buffalo is here to serve the community in whatever way we deem right. In whatever way the community deems right. We are the voice of the people, and we reflect what the people say. We actually talk to them. We go to them, we talk to them in every way we possibly can, and we get their input. And I believe that this process is a process that everyone should be aware of. This is a process that happens every 10 years. It will affect you. In the next 10 years, we'll be 10 years older. So why wouldn't we care about how our city looks? Why wouldn't we care about how racial systems look in Buffalo? Why wouldn't we want every voice to be heard in a process that should contain every voice?
Right.
These are the things that we're asking for, and these are the things that we deserve to have. This is not an ask. This is something that we earn as people who pay tax in this city and pay these councilmen to be in the offices that they are in. So I'm going to need them to do their jobs and do it correctly, especially when we're giving you all the tools to do it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Leighton. Thank you. So either of you, we just have about another minute or two.
I'm just going to say, for us, it's never over until it's over.
Right.
We haven't been counted out yet. We're not going to be counted out now. We're going to continue to do what we need to do to be here and to continue to be strong.
Right. Yep. We're going to keep right on. Keep on keeping on. Amen. And we're going to get there. Thank you so much, Denise. And Harper?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that's already been said. I think like the takeaway here is, that the community, as I said earlier, is moving in a different direction, and it's been very clear that it's been bubbling under the surface. And I'm proud to be part of a community of people who is moving towards a day where like the words we say are actually the actions we take. And I think that this has reignited hope in people in a time that is really dark for a lot of us and has been for our community. And people sort of needed some hope to see that people haven't given up the struggle, that they're fighting on. And as Ms. Barr always says to me, we live to fight another day. So that's what I'm leaving you with.
Well, that is so beautiful. And you're so right. That perseverance, that patience and perseverance and that determination it comes, from that beloved community. And as people learn and grow together in communication and cooperation, in the diversity, and our different skills and talents that we can share. I want to say each one of you have done so much in this campaign, and as you describe it, I want to say, Harper, you're so right about the so many different elements that just make this such a beautiful campaign. And right now, when the community has really been so brutalized, with the massacre and suffering and feeling the hopelessness and just the trauma upon years of trauma and abuse and neglect. So to have this come out as something where people are seeing, the possibility, the what do I want to say, the light at the end of the tunnel, that we're seeing. So I just want to say, I can't thank you enough, especially for coming on the show at this late hour when people are tired, people have families and dogs and friends and things to do and things to, and places to go or time to go chill out. And after a hard day's work, which it has been a lot of work, but I want to say, I can't thank you all enough. It's so great to have you there. I hope you can still hear me, Harper, and Saint, and Denise and Leighton. Just thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for amplifying our message. We greatly appreciate it.
Well,
thank you for the invitation.
We're all in this together, and I want to say this is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love. Thank you so much.